everybody, and welcome on into Sidelines. I'm your host, Drew Patrick, and on this episode, it's part one of our season preview. We talk cross country, we talk field hockey, we talk soccer, who have all had their preseasons thus far. Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk cross country now. As joining me at the desk, we have head cross country coach Mike Roll. Coach, thank you so much for stopping by.
Good to see you again this year. Ready for another one.
So this season, have a large group of returners coming back and another step older, another step in progression. How is that, like, when you start the season knowing that you have a large group who you've been able to work with, who's back, who can help some of the newcomers in, but to have those returners, what does that feel?
It's been really pleasant. There was a lot of education that went on last year with all of the freshmen and the sophomores. We're fully out of COVID now. Everything is back to normal. And to watch them working with the freshmen and actually seeing them teach them how to use their watches correctly and explaining to them accurately what all the drills are and what the sequences are is just been a real relief. It's almost, as I've kind of referred to throughout the year, this preseason things are normal finally. So.
And speaking of normal for the preseason, you were able to bring back the Tour de Mountaineer, a fun thing, and you guys can go see the journal entries on the Tour de Mountaineer that are all up on GoMounties.com. But Coach, talk to me a little bit about what this Tour de Mountaineer, how this idea came to fact, and then we'll talk about this year.
So the Tour de Mountaineer evolved in the summer of 2013. That was the first year that we did it. And I am a Tour de France fan. I love to watch the Tour de France. And as I'm watching it, I was thinking, boy, wouldn't it be really good to have some kind of a stage race or some stage competition for runners? The problem is that, running, you just get too beat up and you can't race every single day. And, the cyclists, they don't have the impact. And so I was thinking about, boy, we could maybe do a points like they do in the points race with the green jersey, where the kids score points for being able to do things. And then I realized, I can give them their pace for their easy day, and the person who does it the most right gets the most points. And so I was able to evolve it from then, and from that. And so then I came up with the idea of a sprints jersey for the fastest sprinter, and a hill climb for the ones who made the best climbs, and conditioning jersey, and then the yellow jersey, and then best freshman jersey, which was the white. And it gives everybody a chance to participate, but it's really a tool for me to use to teach them the importance of following directions, the process of learning, the different levels of training, and the accuracy that's needed.
I think, too, what is the benefit of being able to put your athletes in a competitive situation really early in the season, early in preseason?
Oh, it definitely teaches them to compete with attention to detail. And that is just so important, because they have to be able to be focused on what they're trying to do in the season with their pacing and with their race efforts. And this year, this particular group was one of the best in the 8 times that we've done it in terms of attention to detail and competitiveness. My honest belief is that any one of them might have been able to win a tour or any of the previous tours, because when it came to being accurate on their pacing, the separation between 8 men was 12, 15 seconds. And whereas in the past I would have one person be within a couple seconds of their accurate pacing, and then somebody would be 30 or 40 seconds off, or even a minute off, and just completely not follow directions at all. So yeah, definitely helped them a lot with learning the system.
So let's talk about this year's tour. What were some of the events and some of the things that you were really looking forward, and then we'll get to the results.
Well, we've over the years this has continued to evolve. So we've even come up with names for them. And so, for example, the ending event is the Colton Point Time Trial, which predated the tour, goes back to 2004, which was just that whole event stemmed from being out at Pine Creek and going up and looking out at the outlook with the team and saying to, I think it was Chris Cummings at the time, wonder what it'd be like to run up that. And he's like, I'll try that. And so that was just absolute typical runner thing to do. Like, oh, there's a hill, let's run up that. And that's how that began. But so we have the Colton Point Time Trial, which is the culmination event. We start off with what we call the Trial of Truth, which is a 3K time trial that pretty much every college coach in the country runs in some way or another. And then we have the absolute split workout where they can't be off either plus or minus. And then we have the no look run where they're not allowed to wear a watch and they have to see how close they get to their goal time. They have the total time where they're just running a distance run and they're just trying to get close as they can to their accurate time. So we have all those segments, and they all reveal something to me about the athletes, either their ability to follow directions, their paces, their fitness levels. Of course, we have some hill climbs in there that we just do for fun. I think that's just me being mean, and so there's some other things, but yeah, there's a lot of different categories there. So
this year's results, if you want to kind of run through them with the different things that stood out. Obviously, if you guys want to see the complete results day to day, go check that out on GoMounties.com. But Coach, walk me through the final results and kind of what stood out with each of those.
Well, right from the beginning, the thing that stood out for the women's team was that we had set some goals in the spring as to where they should be when they came back, and the top 5 women are all there. They were right at their goal, and they were within 10 seconds of each other. So that gave us a real good lead on being able to run as a pack and be able to train together. So that was real positive. The men, it turned out that Derek Simpson, freshman, was even better than I thought, and I thought he was going to be pretty good, so I was pretty happy with that. Throughout the week, it really revealed that Seth had a really good summer, had much improved. That Christian was ready to go, and David came in a little bit banged up, but by the end of the week he was returning to health. So it gave me a real good evaluation of where we're at, so that stood out. In terms of the next stage that really mattered was when we did a breakdown workout, and everybody was really keyed in onto their paces. They were able to hit their race paces and their goal paces. They knew what they were supposed to be doing, and the workout went really well, and I was really pleased with that. So those were some really good things. The key for success for this year is, can the kids get through each workout, do them right, and build? Because it's a 14-week season this year with the festival year, so it's longer than normal. If somebody were to make it to nationals, it's almost 4 months. So we have to be very steady and accurate with our training and not train too hard too early.
So cross country is an interesting season, I guess, because these kids are pretty much in season all year long. And so that summer work becomes really important because that's the only season without like proper day-to-day management of. So how important is it to have some of those upperclassmen help those underclassmen either with like a text or a phone call or that kind of thing to keep them motivated, or do you kind of have to trust the athlete to be motivated and do their work in the summer?
Oh, definitely. To be successful in cross country, the athletes have to find their self-motivation, and we provide that with them. And some don't do the work that they need to do, and so then I make adjustments for them when they get here. And eventually what I found over the years of coaching is that athletes may go through 1 or 2 summers where they don't do their work, and they get frustrated with that, and then they decide to do the work. And some of them never do. They just want to come and they want to train while they're here, and they don't want to be bothered with training at home. And if they're willing to accept the results of that, then I'm okay with that. I don't get on them about it. So, because this is about them, it's never about me. And I want to make sure that they're having a good experience. And if they're happy with it, just coming in and starting to run in August 15th and being sore, that's how that goes.
So let's talk about expectations. Let's start with the women's team. What are kind of your expectations or kind of the goals for this year with that women's team?
Well, we definitely want to be better than we were the year before. The Colton Point was really revealing for both Bailey and Carly. Carly had suffered really badly from anemia last year, and she's fully recovered now. So she's back to looking like an all-conference runner again. Bailey has improved her summer training greatly, so she's looking like a potential all-conference athlete. So I think we might actually surprise some people, be a little bit higher in the rankings. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. 14 weeks is a long time.
And then, we can make that then early season goals and expectations. And let's start with let's go to the men's team for that.
So with the men's team, there's still, even though I got 2 juniors on the team now, I still have the majority of freshmen and sophomores. And that jump to 5 miles and 10K takes a while to develop. It can take up to 3 years for kids to really get used to that. So we're going to be working on a race strategy for both the men and the women that is going to be played out over the entire season. And so, the first race, which we have traditionally with Bloomsburg as a dual meet, we'll be racing for the women 4.5K and the men 6K. And they're going to go out hard like they're planning to do at the end of the season, and they're going to be getting used to that. Now, they may not finish at that pace, but we're going to get used to going out fast and being in the competition. And they're adapting to that. They're prepared for that. They know that, and they're committed to doing it. So, early season is going to be how well do they get out and how well do they hang on, and then we just adjust from there.
All right, Coach. Looking forward to an exciting season. Lots of home meets this year, including hosting.
I'm super excited about that. This is going to be the most meets we've ever held. We're going to have an opener dual meet, mid-season at homecoming, the Ed Winrow invite. Ed Winrow was a great coach here, and it's an honor to have him there. And then move on to the conference and the regional. And we're the first institution to ever host both in a season. So it just shows the capability that we have here.
Well, Coach, once again, thank you so much, and good luck coming up on the season.
Thanks, Drew. Great to see you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk field hockey now. As joining me at the desk is head coach Brittany Hansrow. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Always a pleasure.
So this season is unique for you because in terms of returners, you didn't lose any graduating seniors from the previous year. So how much of a benefit is that to really the growth of this team and kind of taking that next step?
Well, I was thinking about this, how last year we were sitting here talking and you were asking me what are my expectations, what are my thoughts, and I said I don't have any because The year prior was COVID, and the year prior to that was a great season for us with us making playoffs. So last year's team was very new, essentially. We had a couple returners that were starters on that 2019 team, but it was like a whole new team. And so we had to really work hard that season, and segue to the end of it, we missed playoffs by 1 game, which was crazy. So I think we did really well last season, and then going into this season, we didn't lose anybody necessarily. So I think where we're at now is such a great place, and the expectations this year are to go to playoffs and beyond. I think it's very possible considering how close we got last year with a team that was so young. There's going to be some youth on the field, I will say, this season as well, but there's just so many seasoned returners now, and I think what's happened is they've done such a great job of really pulling in those freshmen and making them feel extremely welcome. And the blend and the transition I've noticed has been fantastic. And so I just really feel like the production on the field is going to kind of be reflective of how close the team is and how much they support each other. So ultimately I think we're going to have a great season. It'll just be dependent on how far do we go.
So you talked about that this team, which was really just trying to find their footing again last year, was a game out of playoffs and a game that they felt that they could have gotten throughout that season. So how do they use that, and how do you as a coach use that as motivation for them, knowing that this is that same group, this is with some additions, that they can use that as their drive for this year?
Yeah, I think now that we can look back on it, there's some positive takeaways at this point. Yeah, it stinks we didn't make it, and it was our own fault because we dropped a game we shouldn't have, and it ultimately came back to haunt us. However, now those players were that close. Literally, they tasted it. We were like in a 3-way tie. We had all the tiebreaker scenarios won except for the one, and that one didn't go in our favor. So that's why we didn't go. And so finding out on the bus ride home last year, on the very last game, we're not making it. I think was gut-wrenching, but such an eye-opener and such a wake-up call to those players to say, this is how close we were with a team that was so new. Now we're going to all come back, and we were that close to tasting it, and so they're just hungrier than ever to get back to that place. You can tell the focus is there. You can tell the mindset's there. Their goals and expectations align with that, and so they're ready to get to that place, which is playoffs, and they want to even go further than that. And I think they're capable because of how close they got last year. And then you add into it the freshman class that just is a massive enhancement to what we already have. So I think it's just going to be all good outcomes.
So how do you know, like, what are the specific either attributes or things that you notice about the focus, about the drive that is maybe a little bit different this year with another year older and that chip on their shoulder?
Accountability, communication on the field, off the field, in the locker room, just the way in which I'd say those older ones, like specifically the starters from last year, carry themselves on the field, and how you can just tell in the way that they're playing. They just have that higher standard within themselves that you can tell. They're locked in, focused in, and then just with their communication, they want to win. So it's kind of like they're going to do anything necessary to make sure that that's going to happen. So then their communication then spreads down to the underclassmen, including the freshmen, and they're like, let's get the press right, let's get our corners right, let's get this stuff right so that we come prepared and we're executing come opening season. We've had one scrimmage, and then we'll have 3, I'll say this, we'll have 3 scrimmages this preseason, so it's great practice to get everybody acclimated, but it's great practice to kind of work things out and get on the same page, and that's where you're seeing that leadership, and then all of those players, the older players, saying this has to get straightened out, so we're ready to go come like actual game time.
So looking forward to the season, obviously I don't want you to be looking too far ahead, but there are some trips involved in this year. There's a trip out to Missouri later in the year, and then so getting a team prepared for those long trips that, yeah, you have a lot of returners, but really the longest trip that you guys have made has been, with this unit, really has been to, say, Erie or Slippery Rock.
Yeah.
So how, again, not looking too far ahead, but getting prepared for those kind of additional, the non-controllables, how do you try to approach that?
So communication from my end and just like mentally preparing them. We've already had to do that a couple times this season with 1 week of preseason, and then you have orientation, this, that, and the other thing that's going on with the classes beginning and all that. So yeah, just kind of me preemptively telling them like, okay, this is the deal. This is what to expect. It is what it is. We're just going to work through it. So I've already talked to them about the Missouri trip, actually. We went through the whole schedule, and I'm like, it's a short weekend, guys. We're leaving on a Friday. We're coming back Sunday through the night, and we're going to have fun. It's 2 games in that we're getting in, but it's going to be a short trip and long driving. So I'm like, just mentally prepare yourself for it. And then when it gets closer, we're going to try to dabble in some fun stuff along the way. Who knows, karaoke, I don't know, movies, we'll see. But yeah, like I think on my part and Coach Hoover's part, it's so important for us to just prepare them in advance versus us just showing up and doing things, like having them know about what to expect and what's coming up. I've found has been a benefit on my team.
So looking at the team this year and some of the first couple weeks here in preseason, has there been any person or anything that has really stood out to you?
Gosh, tough question. I think the leadership from the captains, they're all returning captains. This is the first year we didn't actually have to vote in a captain or captains. So Olivia, Hannah, and Sarah May are all returners, and they are a fantastic group because of their diversity and how different they are, but then how well it works. And I think that's something that stands out to me because they have such a calming presence in a way about themselves, but such a commanding presence at the same time. So they've stuck out to me in such a great way in terms of leadership and just kind of management control of our group. And then another player that stuck out to me, I would say would be Kennedy. Kennedy is transitioning into the center high mid position, and somebody who last year wasn't as fond of that idea, so we kind of had to switch things around. And then through the spring, she sort of just totally made a shift, bought into it, and has been lights out. So now going into this fall, she has not only been continuing that skill-based, but then her communication has really, really taken off. Like, she's having leadership capabilities, and she's so young yet. So she's somebody that really sticks out to me in terms of making sure like there's the accountability, the group's in place on the field. She's shifting people, and I think that's going to be a huge contributing factor to our success this year. And then I'll say down to the freshman class, I'll use that one. Yeah, Lotta, our Netherlands player, has been really coming along nicely. She's brought a lot of diversity to our teams in terms of the way she plays. So that's been really nice to see. And a couple of the others I think you'll see in the mix. I won't mention names though.
And I do want to mention one player here though. The growth of in goal, you have August Lewis there. That next step that you kind of expect from her. She had a phenomenal season as a first-year starter last year. What's that next step she has to take?
So August, thought about mentioning her. So she, this past spring, she had a huge breakthrough in her confidence and her communication, and just the way she'll shut down the play now. She's a lot more aggressive to step out of her cage more. So that happened this past spring. Going into this fall, I think that she's not going to skip a beat. Now, she just needs to get a couple saves under her belt. So the first scrimmage, she didn't see much action. So hopefully the remaining scrimmages that we have will be a little bit different for her in terms of her just getting a lot more action. Because that's her. She's just got to get her feet wet again, and then it'll be smooth sailing. So she's good.
And so, I mean, we touched on it a lot, but the goals and expectations from you this season for this group.
Right. So this is different. Last year, I was like, I don't know what to expect. This is, I don't know. But now that, I know what to expect. Yeah, look how close we made it last year. And it's on them at this point. They have all of the tools and resources and skill and people to make it work this year, especially with the freshman class and the enhancement they bring to the program. And I fully expect us to make it to playoffs and beyond. How far? I don't know. I think they're capable of more than they realize right now. But I think as they start getting through the season, they're going to realize just how good they can and hopefully will be this season.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by.
Yeah, as always.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk women's soccer as we have head coach John Schaefer joining me here at the desk. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So this season, look, you ended last season with a big swing, getting that big emotional win on senior day. What have you done to try and take that momentum into this preseason?
Yeah, it was a real positive that the women, all their hard work paid off in our senior day win. And so a lot of it has just been having a great spring season, a lot of technical work, a lot of building the team culture, building the vibe within the group, and then they've had a great preseason. So we've tried to just keep building on that and understanding that their hard work will pay off.
So what have been the steps here in this preseason to try and keep building that culture, building that group up in terms of skills as well?
Yeah, I mean, number one is trying to do a lot of team bonding, official and kind of unofficial team bonding, but trying to do the best job we've done yet of integrating the freshmen into the group and really just building on what our values are, love, serve, grow, and talking about them every day. And then on the field, just working really hard. The team came in really good shape. We've been able to just train hard and work on what we call our DNA, how we want to play. And they've really done an amazing job.
So you've had the benefit of having a couple of weeks to really look at this team and kind of get a feel for them. So early in this preseason, what have been some of the things that have stood out to you?
I mean, first off, the freshman class, outstanding. Outstanding. They've been tremendous players, but even better, tremendous people. They've been phenomenal additions to the team as a whole, and then on the field, they're just they're awesome, and so they're really going to help us. The leadership of the upperclassmen, setting expectations both on the field and off the field, how they're mentoring the freshman group, and so that has really jumped out to me.
And so, let's talk about that with the kind of the upperclassmen bringing in this freshman class. And what are some of the things that you kind of really look for, or you try to incorporate to get, or to kind of pull that out of them, pull that leadership aspect out of them?
Yeah, I say it all the time. I've said it throughout my tenure here. It's their team. It's their team. Yes, I'm the head coach. Yes, I try to set the tone along with Coach Ozzie. But in the end, it's their team. And this group has really taken hold of that. They've understood that if we want to improve on where the program has been historically, they need to really take ownership of it. So if it's how we train, how we act, how we eat, how we sleep, and the upperclassmen have really kind of taken accountability of that and led the way in their actions, and the freshmen have jumped right on board.
Is it a kind of a benefit, or is it something that you'd like to see a little different? Kind of the perception right now, and trying to build that program, trying to build up. But obviously, I don't know if you pay attention to preseason rankings or any of that, but to be able to kind of fly under the radar, is it a bonus, or is it something that you want to work on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all see the rankings. You want to try to ignore them, but you can't. Yeah, so we're ranked where we are, and but with that, I don't think we're going to fly under the radar. I think last year we shocked a lot of people. Our draws with Westchester and Millersville, we lost 6 games by 1 goal, leading many of them. And so we kind of announced ourselves last year, and so we're still not, maybe respected as much as we want to be, but I don't think we're going to catch anyone off guard. And so, but being ranked where we are definitely puts a chip on your shoulder and encourages them to go out and prove people wrong.
So what are your expectations and goals kind of for this team?
I mean, my hope is that we are the best team in my 5 years here. Now, I don't know what that means results-wise, but my hope is that we play the best soccer in terms of our DNA, that we're the best passing team that I've had in my tenure here, that we defensively are more organized than we've ever been, that really we just keep building on last year. Now, again, I'm a big believer in the process, and that if you focus on the process, the results will happen. And so we're not out here saying that our goal is X number of wins. Our goal is to really trust the process, play to our DNA, and if we do that, and if we get a bit of luck here or there, if we stay healthy, hopefully the results provide a really great year.
And so in this preseason, have there been any individuals that have really surprised you or stood out this year that we should be looking forward to?
Oh, man, this is always the hardest question because I want to just name the whole roster. Yeah, it's really hard, but I'll say like the freshman class as a whole has been phenomenal. Quillen came in and is doing great. Samantha Kosminski in the midfield as well. Olivia Hudson we're putting her all over the park, and she's doing great. Samantha Merklin in goal is competing and fighting. I mean, I know there's people I'm forgetting, but the entire freshman class has just been tremendous additions that we can look back and go, wow, like they're going to help us from day one.
And so this week is the first home contest this Sunday. So early in the season, we've talked about expectations for the team, but expectations for that game and kind of going to be the key to a successful start to the season.
Yeah, I think it's playing to our DNA. We don't want to sacrifice the results of one game for how we want to play. We don't want to start kicking it long and doing things that aren't in our DNA just to try to get a result against Salem on Sunday. The key for a successful season is that we stick to who we are and we play that style throughout the Salem game so that we see what we need to work on when we go play Bloom and then we go play ESU. I mean, that's a heck of a first week in the conference. And so for me, a successful start is seeing us play to our DNA, being positive as a group, which the women have been phenomenal, and just keeping that spirit going. And if we do that, whatever the result is, it is. But that's a successful start because then we can build on that over the 8 weeks of the season.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are, Coach, and thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by.
Thank you so much.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. for this one, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.